I'm your host, Fred Underwood, and today we have a special co-host, Darren Kelly from the Jersey Sports Network. And today we have a special episode that we're going to be doing. That's going to be a recurring episode called Conversation Starters. In Conversation Starters, we're going to be talking about navigating the intersection between sports, tech, and business. We are your ultimate playbook for winning on and off the field. This episode focuses on some current trends that's shaping the sports industry, blending cutting edge technology and business strategy. Um, Darren, how you doing today? Like, what's been going on?
Man, I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on and for bringing me on as a co-host. I'm excited to get into some of these topics, man. There's a lot going on, a lot of upsets happening in college football, a lot of storylines going on in the NFL. It's an entertaining season, so it's giving us a lot to talk about off the field. But just more importantly, just happy to be here and get into it.
Yeah. Because you got a lot of people that's doing their thing, on the field, so that translates off the field, right? That's something that
Absolutely.
we're definitely gonna pay attention to. We're gonna allow that to drive some of the conversation, because like what you do on the field is gonna help you build off the field, and if you listen to the plays that we're gonna be giving you, and dissecting some of the things that's going on, you'll be able to take advantage of it. So I want to dive into the first topic, right? What I'm saying? Today's game changers. Today's game changers. We're going to be talking about the media rights. That's something that's been, everybody is fighting over different media rights. You have streaming platforms like Amazon, Netflix, YouTube TV. They're getting a lot of deals and securing some of the sports media rights. That traditional networks like ESPN and NBC have traditionally been getting, but you're starting to see them grab some of these deals with the NBA, the NFL, the NHL. They're making bold moves that's reshaping how fans are experiencing it. We want to talk about how some of the streaming platforms are challenging traditional broadcasters. Like, we're live right now on YouTube. So like streaming, that's gonna be a really big thing. Like, Darren, what's your thoughts on what this means to the business of sports broadcasting?
Yeah, I think that streaming is putting a lot of pressure on traditional broadcasting from the stance of streaming is just offering more for the consumer. I think that the sports consumer base is shifting tremendously, and I think a lot of leagues, like if you look at the NFL and how they've expanded, they pretty much the NFL has laid out the blueprint for other sports leagues as far as how to leverage streaming platforms such as Thursday night football, Amazon Prime, to Sunday night football on NBC's Peacock. So these different streaming platforms are partnering with likes of the NFL, and you can't forget about YouTube TV and Sunday Ticket. And they're just offering consumers more. You think about how many people have an Amazon Prime account, or how many people are watching other shows on, Peacock, and it's like, oh, the game's on, we'll watch it. So I just think that whereas a traditional broadcasting platform, like a NBC for example, they're very much hell bent on the live game, like the live games, and having those live game rights are very much like the lifeblood of traditional media platforms, because that's what they make a lot of money off from an advertising standpoint. The more live games that they can get, the better games. Because if you think about, like, it's not just about having games, it's about having the games that's gonna get everybody watching. So if you get everybody watching, you can sell products on the Amazon Prime, and you
Yep.
can have all these other pieces of content. So it's putting a lot of pressure on them for sure.
No, I think you brought up a really good point, because that's like the technology behind it, right? How technology is enhancing the experience of the fans. Like the different
One.
things that you can do. You can push out different games, trivia, things like I saw like different QR codes that you're able to do, and like I think that's going to be huge to how one brands are looking at where they're going to spend their advertising dollars, and then also where teams, and the organizations want to be at, like where they want their teams to be seen. They like, even if you think about it from a league and a conference standpoint, you have to look at how these streaming platforms are partnering with these leagues. And as we get more to a a power five, you got the power five, but when you look more to how they're going to be making these partnerships, it's like, okay, well, does these traditional platforms have the best opportunity for me, or is it going to be some of these streaming platforms where I can go exclusive with? And I think that's going to be very important.
Yeah, I think it is as well. And I think you have to also think about too, there are certain leagues like the NFL that are ahead of the curve when it comes to adapting to streaming. Then you have other leagues like the NBA. If you notice the NBA, I think it was Dallas and Phoenix who cut ties with their traditional regional sports networks and are now going to more of a direct to consumer platforms for their fans. I think that the NBA, I think we look at it in the terms of like leagues and who's adapting to streaming and who is kind of, we're starting to see like teams are starting to move away from and kind of create their own lanes. I think that the NBA can is in a little bit of trouble because you think about that. And then also the fact that NFL now has Christmas games now in which NBA used to dominate Christmas. So it's going to be interesting to see how like other leagues kind of adapt and figure out other ways to keep up with like the likes of the NFL when it comes to streaming partnerships and, the types of content that they're showing on their platforms.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something like the direct consumer model, right? I think that's huge to the future of like the business of the sports, because like you
Right.
said, these student athletes or these athletic departments, they're a business entity. And they're making a lot of money. And one of the ways that they're going to be able to make more money is to be able to go direct to consumer. So if I'm able to partner with a streaming platform, or if I'm able to create my own streaming platform, where my fans can, let's say it's not a big marquee matchup, but I'm able to charge a subscription to my fans to be able to see our game or to be able to get exclusive content. That's another thing is like you open yourself up for a subscription-based model to be able to monetize the fan base and be able to go direct to consumer, and you're cutting out the middleman, and that's an opportunity for them to leverage those opportunities.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, even from the NIL perspective, right? I think
Go ahead.
from a streaming standpoint, I think that's gonna be a game changer. Who's gonna be the first player to work with a big streaming platform to monetize their streaming rights? If it's like at pre-game or after post-game interviews and things of that nature, there's unlimited opportunities for this.
Yeah, and I think that, similar to what I was just saying with streaming in the professional league, I think from a college standpoint, streaming has put certain schools, particularly, right, for the example I'm going to use is University of Texas. Yep. University of Texas just rebranded the Longhorn Network, and I wrote about this on Business of College Sports. They rebranded the Longhorn Network to be a platform that is similar to a Hulu or similar to what a streaming platform. However, other conferences other conferences or teams might have tried to launch streaming platforms, and people have to understand that when it comes to streaming, it's so costly unless you have the content already there. That's like the Longhorn Network was established in 2011. As a way to give, more Longhorn fans, access to games and interviews and all sorts of things. But now they're leveraging all of that content that they had since the beginning back in, we're talking about, back in 2010, 2011. Now they're having to, what we're seeing now as far as rebranding that content and respinning it now. So I think that when you have a school like a Texas that have had an actual network for years, it's now, when it comes to streaming, and now if you have all that content right there to go, it now separates you from all these, other big name brands, because they don't, what other team besides Texas has their own specific, network that you can think of that's just as prominent.
No, that's a good point. So tell me a little bit more about, like, because when you said expensive to start, are you just saying you have to, if you don't already have the content, you have to create that content? Is that where the money comes in?
No, I like that question, and I appreciate you allowing me to kind of like bring that out, drag that out a little bit, because when it comes to, creating content, like as we're creating content now, like content is, as we were talking about offline, you think about the return on investment for your content, the advertisement, being able to actually create transactions. Whereas, if you already have years and years and years of content already stored, you can already go in and monetize and leverage that versus the opposite side of it is whereas, okay, not only do you have to create your content, you have to kind of test it and see if it'll land with your consumers. They've already done that for years. They already have a big subscription base that they've built for years. So it's like for a team to kind of start now and say, hey, we're going to do our own our own streaming, our own content platform. We're going to create the content. We don't know how it's going to land. Well, we're going to spend the money to create it. We're going to spend the money to distribute. It's just a lot of and even though there's a lot of money now, I think what we're seeing now, even just with the transfer portal and players, and like Saban said, if you pay the wrong players, you're going to be SOL. So it's like we're living in a time where even though there's a lot of money around college sports, how the money is being spent is going to be key, both on the field, NIL, and even with opportunities in streaming.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. That makes a lot of sense. So I would definitely want to kind of wrap this conversation up. But I want to understand, like, what do you think is the long-term business play for the sports leagues? But also, like, do you feel like traditional TV fades into the background and then streaming becomes more dominant? Like, what's your overall thoughts about that?
Yeah, my prediction is that, with the new streaming rights deals that have already, or the new media rights deal that are already in place, whether it's NBA, WNBA, NFL, I mean, these deals are, you look at, for example, the NBA one, by the time they re-up, you can expect there to be another streaming platform or some team out there that's going to definitely partner with a streaming platform that's going to give their fans that access and that have already had that content. So I can, my prediction is that years from now, we'll see more streaming players, involved in more media rights deal for some of the top professional sports leagues, for sure.
Definitely. So I definitely want to, move to our next topic, our next segment. It's a playbook. Give you a little playbook case study. Like, this is what we'll analyze some of the different things that are going on. We'll have a little case study. We'll discuss it. But in today's playbook case study, we're gonna talk about the House versus NCAA section. Like, the legal ruling that allows student athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. It's altering the economics of college sports. But I wanna kind of go into some of the details of it and just kind of talk about it a little bit more. But there are because I know it's been placed on hold. That was one of the other big things that happened because they're looking for revisions, and it's because they so Athlete Group opposed the $2.8 billion settlement, and then the judge is set to hear some of the objections, and some of the key things was the financial empowerment that student athletes through NIL deal is going to open up a lot of different opportunities for them. Then it gives some of the athletes that are leveraging social media and using their tech platforms for brand building. It's just going to open up all of those floodgates, and it's going to have an impact on the universities, the sponsorships, the recruiting strategies. You kind of talked to that a little earlier. Yeah, I'm not sure where we left off at, but no. So just tell me, how do you feel like this is going to change the landscape of the student athletes and the NIL?
Yeah, I think the house settlement is going to be interesting because, now schools are going to be paying athletes directly. So now we're going to start to see, again, going back to what I was saying, how the money is spent. Ohio State just invested 20 million, into, their, whether it's the portal, whether it's, NIL deals, working with different collectives. I think that now that's just going to be more amplified. I think the collectives or, the collectives and the universities, even though that they are supposed to be separate, I think that they will, you know, given that they represent each other, work hand in hand to some degree. But I think that it'll be interesting to see, with this new power, how that, is going to impact, like you said, the recruiting. Now you have, new conferences and things like that. And I think that's an interesting thing too. How is, conference, the conference realignment and how the money's going to be dispersed. It's going to, the disbursement of it, it's great to see them get their money, but the disbursement of it's going to be interesting, as well. But what are some of your takeaways, from it? Are there any things that, that worry you about it, maybe, down the line, for the athletes and the institutions as far as their relationship?
Yeah, so I think it makes it a lot more interesting about how the collectives are going to, aid to survive, or how they're going to work more hand in hand. I think it's going to be very interesting. That's a conversation I definitely want to have with some people that's in collectives, but definitely actual powerhouse conversations that we definitely need to have. But what I'm excited about is just more opportunities for the athletes to leverage their brand. But the scary part of it, like you just said, it bleeds into sports, right? It bleeds into the, like you said, Saban brought up, you pay the wrong athlete, and like these schools don't have a salary cap. It's not like in the,
Right.
In the NBA, NFL, when you have a salary cap, you project like, okay, this is what we're going to pay. This is how we're going to do it. Like I can get there's the regulate, like there's a collective bargaining agreement that allows you, okay, if this player gets hurt, I can write this off. I can cut this person. Like with all these different regulations, all these different things are put in place with the collective bargaining agreement in these professional levels. And so that's where it gets a little murky. That's where it gets a little gray. Like, okay, if I like this doesn't come pay for play because I'm paying this athlete directly. Like, what are the guardrails and what are the things that help protect the university? And and to be honest, like I feel like I feel indifferent or I feel on the fence about it, right? Because man, these colleges have been making money off of these athletes and making money off of our people for a long time. So while I'm bringing up the collective bargaining agreement and how it protects the organization or the people that's paying the money, it's like, okay, well, you've been getting over for so long, I really don't want to hear it. Like it is what it is. But I do see how that can affect how it can affect the outcome of how these colleges are going to recruit, how these colleges are going to go about finding talent.
Yeah, the landscape's gonna be different because I wrote about this, about how like you take a team like, for example, Florida State, right? They're 0-3 now, and it's going to be a longer. You got to think, for example, like football is king as far as revenue generation, and when you take like a team and you think about all the off-season things that they do, whether it's the portal or whether it's NIL collective things, all of that has to translate into some sort of a ROI on the field. And I think now you're going to starting to see the emergence of what I think was taking place. I think there's one in Alabama. We have like these GMs of these like general managers now that are in charge of these, whether it's the football team. I don't know if it's in basketball. I know Alabama football has a general manager. So it's going to be interesting because now there's a 12-team playoff, the season is longer, and you don't want to position yourself or you don't want to spend money and you're 0-3, you're out of
Yeah.
competition, and the season just started. It's like, how are you even gonna make it to the, I mean, to the, to the playoff time and the postseason? So even though there's a lot of money, again, it's all about like how it's gonna be spent, because those same fans that were talking about, for example, Florida State, they were like, we should have been in the college football playoff. We should have been there. They created a whole
Yeah.
fundraising off of that. And now you see, this year it's like, what's the connection between what that took place during the end of that season on the college football playoff committee and selection versus now? It's like, how do those same fans, or what are those people that were putting together those fundraisers, how do they feel now?
Yeah, and like I said, it becomes, it's no longer just this college sports, and you kind of get where people were coming from. It's like, oh, I want my college sports to be amateur. When at the highest level, it was never amateur. They would just had very low paid pros. And that's what it came down to. But to your point, you think of a Florida State who's like losing. It's like almost like you got to manage the salary cap at this point. It's like, okay, well, if I spent all this money on these players, and I'm not getting a return on my investment, then do I clean house? Like, do I send everybody to the transfer portal? And it's like, because that's a thing that thpeople didn't realize for a long time. Scholarships are realistically a one year deal. It's to be renewed every year. So now it's really you're on a 1 year deal every year, and you might be forced into the transfer portal even if you don't want to be. And that's going to be something that people athletes have to think about when you're talking about that. And you even think about the ROI on somebody like a Miami with Cam Ward, and what they're being able to see a return on their investment, or what they paid out to get him to come into town. And now it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm seeing a return, but then you have the flip side of right back in your backyard, your rival with Florida State is they campaigned, and they wanted all this NIL money, and like you start off bad, and it's like, yeah, I know it's a booster somewhere livid
For sure.
livid.
Yeah, because they got to live with that for the rest of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shapes up.
No, for sure. That's why I was like, the whole thing with the NIL is like, when it becomes pay for play at a college level, it's a little bit different, and people are not understanding that, because it's one thing to allow them it's one thing to allow them to get their own money for sponsorships, because people aren't really understanding there's different ways that they're getting paid. Okay, like Beats by Dre could come in and pay this athlete for their social media likeness and things of that nature. But then there's another part of it. It's like, okay, well, the school that wants you to come there, the collectives are pooling together money, and they're trying to entice kids to come to their school. So therefore, the money that they pulled together could have went to another athlete, could have went to this, and you're not getting a long-term deal. They're not signing four-year deals. They're enticing that kid to come there for that season. They're trying to win that season. So if you don't win that season, then somebody has the answer for why we got this kid, and why do we use the money to get him? And so either that's also a valuation of talent. There's a lack of like, okay, well, are you getting? They're going to start pointing the finger at the coaches. Are you getting the most out of them? And so all these questions are being answered, and it's all because of the money.
Yeah. It's a lot on the line. And I think that what's going to be interesting is to see is who can come up with that formula to say, okay, when you look at some of the, like GMs, like you think like the Daryl Morey's that were, into analytics and, the money balls, the Billy Beans of the world, as far as utilizing talent with not a lot of money, right? It's going to be interesting to see, like, in this, as we evolve, what teams or what GMs or what representatives of these institutions are going to really get the, that formula that understand the talent ROI and how it impacts NIL and how it translates on the field, and really, because this is a copycat, football, every sport, everybody is a copycat. So once they come up with that formula, you'll see other institutions try to apply that. But no, I don't see anyone who's actually like cracked the code. But I think we'll see how it shapes up this season for sure.
Yeah, because even from the standpoint of this opening up new opportunities, new jobs at these universities, like they're
Right.
gonna have to spend the money on the front office in a sense. Like, okay, are you
Yeah.
gonna spend the money on somebody who understands how to allocate funds? Like like you just said, a Daryl Morey who played the cap game. Like essentially you have a cap. You go to your NIL collective, see how much money they have raised, and now we have to allocate these funds. How are you going to
Yeah.
do that? How are you gonna spend this money on the entire team versus like, nah, we need this player, and it goes back to like a Cam Ward, like he's the game changer.
Right.
Evaluating talent and understanding who's the game changer and how we're gonna allocate this money is gonna be so important moving forward.
100%. Sure.
Definitely. So let's move on to the next topic. Tech Forward. Like we're talking about something like go back to let's just how we're experiencing these games on these Saturdays, right? New live immersive experiences in sports venues, right? So we got
Right.
the Sphere and the Cosm. The fan experience is evolving, and so we're having these venues that are going to be tech driven venues, and they blend the live sports with the virtual element to create a entirely new fan experience. So I think this is going to be crazy when you think about driving the fan experience, and when you think about what that means to, like we just talked about, the money that's going to push into the game, because you're gonna have the people that can't go to the games. Now they get to go experience the games in a whole totally different way. Somebody who can't go to a Texas Longhorn game, and they can be in the bar how they used to watch the game and experience like the Longhorn running out, like, or like a Alabama game. You're able to see how the fan experience of being in Bryant-Denny, because if you never experienced that, then it's something to experience, but you get to see it up close and personal on these huge screens that they spend a lot of money on, and I think that's going to change the game for a lot of teams.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, I think that 100%. I think that the Cosm and just even I think that everybody is trying to get to that point where, we're trying to find that happy medium between how can we put the best sports product out there, whether it's a game, and then how can we take it up another notch for fans. So when you mention Cosm and the Sphere, what I ultimately see is like sports books, incorporating some of what we're seeing in Cosm, right? Because sports books, from what I've seen, I've me personally, I've never been in one specifically, but I've in my past. But I think that they kind of generally, you have these TVs and you have these sports betting kiosks. But I think when you throw in that technology, that immersive fan experience that Cosm has leveraged, and even the Sphere, you're gonna see that now in sports books, and even into some degree, you're gonna see that with taking it back to the college sports, how at Tennessee, University of Tennessee, for example, they're putting up millions of dollars to revamp the area around Neyland Stadium. Penn State is doing something similar. So a lot of schools are revamping the towns and the areas around their stadiums to be more entertainment, and these aren't even traditional entertainment venues, so to speak.
Right.
But when you have such a big following and a big fan base, they want to be entertained beyond just the tailgates and the game. They want to be able to, it's all about what else are you offering. So I think that if you're someone that is, and I think that in my opinion, the sports fan engagement space is actually the most popular space to be in right now, because it sits between the sports technology and the business and the ROI and how the analytics are used. So I think it's definitely, I agree with you. I think it's going to change the game tremendously.
No, because even when you just think about it, like you just said, think about most college towns are small things where there's nothing else there outside. This college and the sports team is what drives the revenue of that city. The city would be nothing without it. You think I'm from Alabama. You got Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You got Auburn, Alabama. I grew up my family's right outside of Tuscaloosa. And if you would have seen what it was before pre-Saban and what it is now, it is night and day. And the crazy thing is, a tornado came through and tore up Tuscaloosa. I want to say around 2011, but it was in between. Like it's been rebuilt because of the championship. The money that it drives, and then to your point of how um, the immersive experience, and like when you think about these strips, what they're gonna do is they're gonna make sure that like it's gonna be bars up. There's already bars and stuff up and down it, but when they start increasing the revenue and increasing the fan experience, where it's like I just said, you don't have to be in the game to get a piece of that fan experience. It's not just the bar hopping, but it's going to now be the technology behind the bar hopping. Where, like I said, when you kind of think about the Sphere and all the sports book, is like, okay, well, you're sitting in a seat, and everything that you need to do is right here in this seat. I can change the channel. I can change what I'm hearing, change the game I'm hearing. There might be a small screen that allows me to look at different games and scores, and they want to keep you there because because the more you sit there, the more money you're going to spend, and the more money you're going to spend, the more revenue that generates for the college.
100%. It's just like, how long can we keep you here so you can, we want you to get the full experience, as they would say. So they're going to throw not everything at you, but I think it's great because now, going back to what we were talking about earlier as far as ROI and kind of mapping that out. If you are someone that is in charge of those, I say you're in charge of that for, in Alabama or Tennessee, you now can create events behind this, right, around your big games. And, you can create, different fan activation opportunities. So this trend is now opening up other revenue streams, not just for on the college level, but even on the, the pro level. I think that we're going to, as pro stadiums are now evolving, like if you notice, like, almost every pro team that plays outside now wants to be in a dome. Cleveland is trying to get in the dome. Chicago is trying to get in the dome. And I feel like that also plays a big part into it as far as like the stadium architecture and just making sure like that is great, for the fan experience. And, I know your Cowboys have been at the forefront of that, with AT&T Stadium and all the technology that's there. So we'll see more of that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like, what's the benefit? Like, whoever's holding on to being an outside stadium, like, what's the benefit, right? Like,
right.
If I can get into a dome and I can put this huge screen up, and I can do whatever I want on that, and then you got to think about it. It's real estate, and the more real estate that you have, the more you can advertise, and the more you can advertise, the more money you can generate. And that's just the bottom line. They're going to look at it from the bottom line. And I even think what this really made me think about is the Clippers, and how he's bringing that new stadium. And it's like, bro, they said that they are going to be able to know how loud you are being in your seat, and they will you gain fan points for that. Or they can drop down, like, instead of like, oh, it's just so random that they're shooting shirts to everybody. Like, okay, if this section is the loudest, we're gonna drop the shirts in this section. Like, if y'all are cheering, let's just say from a trivia standpoint, like, it's so, the more interactive you can be, the better the experience. And now you're looking at like, okay, well, I paid this money for this ticket, and I got my money's worth because I was entertained from start to finish. And the more that they can do that and also you have to think about the era that we're in, right? These kids are Roblox, Minecraft, TikTok era. Like, it's all about the experience and how you can interact with others, and that's just what it's about now. And so, and the more that these immersive sports venues come up, is going to be it's going to continue to make money. So that's where money's at.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that also too. And just one more point, to that. I think that when you brought up the Clippers, it made me think of the Mavericks and how they sold. Mark Cuban sold some of the Mavericks to that casino family, and how they purchased the real estate around the American Airlines Center. Because even though I don't know what where Texas is with gambling, at this particular moment, I'll have to go and do more research on it. But I think that when you talk about real estate and having that real estate, like I even saw, Sauce Walker, even he posted a video on Instagram and said, there's if you I think it's like underneath an overpass or something, like right near American Airlines Center, there's like a building that just has Dallas Mavericks on it, but it's not really being used. It's just real estate that's just not being used, but it's very valuable because you think about at some point, I in my estimation, I think that gambling's gonna be legal in Texas at some point, and I think that when it will be, you'll start to, we're gonna start to see like, okay, what markets can, specifically, whether you're in Atlanta or Dallas, have the land and have the, the means and the resources to really develop and grow and really bring fans to the space. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, even so, the rumor that I had saw was that they have the people that bought into it, they already have the land that's waiting. They're waiting on it to get approved. They already have the land ready. It's like outside of Dallas. They already have it ready
Yeah.
for this casino. And like you said, I guarantee that there's going to be another immersive experience
Within that.
that's going to be at that casino.
Oh, yeah.
You got to think about the casinos, and then like you just said, the sports books. All of that is going to be all the way into play, and
Sure.
that and Mark Cuban, like that's one of my guys. Like I'm a huge fan of Mark Cuban. Like I know that he's thinking that far ahead to know that, okay, well, I can sell some of my stake, take a step back, but where the future is going is this immersive experience in sports betting. You just follow the money where you see all these advertisement dollars and see where the dollars are going. And I read something just recently that sports betting has surpassed investing in stocks, and that's crazy. Like literally, gambling has surpassed investing in stocks, and so if you are seeing all these DraftKings advertisements, you're seeing all these underdog advertisements, seeing all these different things, then the next step is for to get this real estate, build these venues, include the sports betting with the immersive experience, and that's where the dollars are going to be.
Yep. 100%. No, I agree.
Yeah. So our next and last topic is going to be athlete spotlight. So what we want to talk about is a guy who's been killing it. I want to say, didn't he have a touchdown and an interception yesterday?
I believe so.
We're talking about Travis Hunter,
Travis
the
Hunter.
rise of
Yeah.
EA Sports and the rise of young stars like Travis Hunter. EA Sports has been smart about tapping into young stars like Travis Hunter because he has been able to engage Gen Z like no other. It's more than just a marketing strategy. He's an example of how athlete engagement, gaming, and business collides in today's world of sports. He's on the cover of the college football that NCAA football that 25 that just made a comeback this year, and now he's on the field killing it. Athlete partnerships with gaming companies is a new frontier with branding for these athletes, because it's going to be huge. Like everybody's on their game, everybody's streaming on these different platforms like Twitch. So that is something that these athletes, we talked about it earlier with just how they're able to make money. It's not just I am going to go to this school and ask for money. It's not just I'm going to go to this brand and ask for money. It's ways that they can go in and leverage the things that they're doing and get the money themselves. They can take their phone or take their camera. They can set up their game that they're doing anyway, go on stream and go on live stream and just be themselves and make money because they are able to garner attention. They're already killing it on the field. Now I just got to show you my personality, and I'm going to kill it. And I'm going to be able to make money, and I'm not depending on this brand. I'm not depending on the school. I'm just me. I'm just being me, and I'm making money because people rock with who I am. And just be yourself, and it's not gimmicky. It's not any of those things, and they're just able to be themselves and be able to leverage technology to be a business person and be an entrepreneur and better themselves. And that's going to last way longer than what's going to be on the football field. And whatever they do, because if you show that you're able to run a business, you're able to run your brand, you're able to leverage the technology to do it, and you put and not only that, I'm gonna give some free game of just building a team. Like you have the resources, you have the money if you need to. Like you have the resources because you're on campus with college students that are learning to do these things. You can put together a team, and y'all can go out and kill it. There's somebody in your dorm room or in your like on your around you that is interested in social media marketing, that's interested in doing like I said, like we're talking about Travis Hunter, but there are smaller athletes that can literally just look around their classroom and put a team together of people like, hey, I'm big at my school. Like let's put together a team and let's go out and get, and build this brand, and you grow with me. And that's how I feel like that's a way to play it.
Yeah, and I think that you put I think that was the point that you made about creating a team, was key. And I think that, with the athlete being a walking market, you think of someone like a Travis Hunter who, he's very interactive on TikTok. He's very interactive on Twitch. And we talk about beyond the game and years beyond the game. We were just talking about Tua, right? We were just talking about Tua before we started, and just how, like, you never know what could take place. You're always one play away, right? Or one, you pull something, and things can change really fast. And I think that, the technology has allowed for athletes to not only, humanize themselves, because we watch these athletes all the time and we realize, like, man, we might not be able to, we might not be able to go between the legs, or we might not be able to, catch a pass in triple coverage, but we can all play the game. We can all, so I think that the key to, as, athletes build brands, think of other ways, to, other aspects of your brand that humanize you, in the sense that allows for you to really find commonality between not just, what you enjoy doing, but also what you're following or what your community, involves. So I think that's how you build those strong followings, is connecting on authentic commonalities beyond just like, you're just a great player, I love watching you play. It's like, no, like, these platforms create, real connections and real followings, and you can really draw real interest between athlete and fan. So I think Travis Hunter is doing an amazing job with that, and I think that other athletes can follow that blueprint. And I think adding, what you said as far as creating a team, you can do a lot with your, as far as building your personal brand in this space.
Yeah, no. I definitely think that that's key. And you have to be killing it, like you said, a Travis Hunter. Like, you're taking care of your business on the field, keep the main thing. But when you're able to do that, like you just said, like, you are, at the end of the day, you're bigger than being an athlete. And when you are true and authentic to yourself, like, you're able to get these opportunities because you're true and you're authentic. And I think that's big.
100%.
Yeah. So, like, as we bring this to a close, like, this was an amazing first conversation starters. We covered everything from media rights to NIL deals to how technology is transforming the business and the fan side of sports. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure you all send in more topics, more questions that you want to cover. We have our social media handles right here on the page, at Dream Big Fred, at DK Sports 410, at the Jersey Sports Network. We're definitely going to keep continuing to bring these episodes to you, talking about the different things that are going on in sports, and we want to definitely keep on giving you all the playbook to being successful on and off the field. So make sure you all like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, at Dream Big Fred, on YouTube and Instagram, for more insights on the intersection of sports, business, and tech. Stay tuned for our next episode, and we are going to break down some of the latest trends that are shaping the game. See y'all next week.
Peace.